to change the world. I just wanted to learn how to hook things up, to write programs that were so great that would impress other people. I wanted to develop my techniques. I had the freedom of college. I would go to college and I would sign up for a computer course. Was a graduate level course, even if you were a freshman back then. And they would let me in it and I would get my good grades, but I would write every program I could. And I would run the school budget, the class budget, 5 times over. So they made it sound like they were going to charge me a lot of money to keep going there. I went to the bookstore. I bought every manual on every programming language I could find, even though I wasn't taking courses. It was just a time of life where, you know what your passion in life is. You love these computers. You want to get good. I was even in high school. You could give me a description of a computer. I could design it with chips in 2 days. Every single computer that was made back then. And it was, but I didn't think that skill was useful. I didn't think I would even design computers when I grew up and became an engineer. Computers were so far off of vision, but they were what you love to do when nobody's paying you. And the classes we took in college, I had built in a lot of fun. I would build electronic devices. I was a ham radio operator from early days, and I would build little transmitters that would jam the television, and I would get people to hold their bodies in strange positions to make the TV work. And I always believed that technology, because other people didn't necessarily know how it works and what you're capable of doing as a programmer today, for example, and you could play tricks on people. You could make strange things and they wouldn't know what was really causing it.
That's great. Let's move on when you started to create Apple. I would love to know how the idea of creating a company such as Apple appeared and which was your role in that love story?
Yes, I traced my whole life, and my life from elementary school to middle school to high school to college, all the projects that I built whenever I could get time, or just designed on paper because I couldn't afford parts, they were all leading on a path, and that path was going to complete itself in the few years before we started Apple. And I worked at Hewlett-Packard. I was lucky to have a great job for what I consider the greatest company in the world. The Hewlett-Packard handheld scientific calculator was the iPhone of its time. It was changing the world for all engineers, all scientists, forever. Within 2 years, there would be no more slide rules. And that now lots of companies make those products, but at once it was only Hewlett-Packard. And I got a job as an engineer, designing these things, even though I did not have a college degree. I showed them that I knew how to design products that work, and that was all you needed. If you can do the job, you can work here. I wish so many times you go to a company and they say, well, you have to have this experience and that experience, and have done these things before. And they don't often recognize that young people who have a talent of putting small things together to create bigger things are really the heart of the matter. While I was working at Hewlett-Packard, though, I had a problem. I loved electronics. When I designed calculators in the day, I came home at night and built my own electronics projects, and it took me on a route through machines you could dial up to get a joke, into the Pong game that I saw in a bowling alley. I designed Breakout for Atari, designed a terminal with Steve Jobs, actually I designed it myself, to talk to computers far away, and that makes you a Superman. It was the ARPANET, the forerunner of today's internet. These devices, I would look at them and say, I have to have that. I have to have one, and my solution was I could build it. Because I was such a good enough designer, it cost me almost nothing. And then I built a computer. And we were talking about a revolution. It was a club. It was people much like the ones here. Most of us were young, but whether we were young or old, we were not rich executives, managers, CEOs of companies. We were people that knew how to use computers, how to write programs, how to design circuits, and we wanted to take this technology to the masses so that the little people who had nothing before would become their own masters at solving problems, that the little guy who knew how to program a computer would go in and solve the financial problems of a company better than their high-paid programmers and million-dollar computers. And this was what intrigued me.